This all started because I was trying to explain something about JoJo Siwa to my husband. And I said, from Dance Moms. And he looked at me like I had three heads.
Huh? Huh?
He had no clue who JoJo Siwa was. He didn't even know who Abby Lee Miller was.
She deserves nothing. Don't have an attitude that you are entitled in this world. You are not. You deserve nothing else. You earn it. You can't stand here and cry. I want no crying children.
Didn't even know what Dance Moms was. Which is when I realized that this is one of those shows that either completely shaped your brain chemistry or you missed it entirely. And today, I'm going to fix that. For my husband, and for anyone else who somehow missed one of the most chaotic, controversial reality shows ever made. Hi, friend. Welcome to my channel where I often overthink and over explain things in order to start thoughtful conversations about culture, media, and nostalgia. Thanks for joining me today. So, today we are not just doing a standard recap because when you look back at Dance Moms today, especially as a parent, because I am a parent, it just hits very differently. This wasn't just a dance show, it was a show about the exploitation of kids, about stage moms chasing their own dreams through their daughters, and about the dark parts of our culture that love to watch women and children compete and suffer on camera. Let's start at the beginning. What exactly was Dance Moms?
Remember, you are stepping on the stage for the very first time as the Abby Lee Dance Company. You're the chosen ones. You're getting to dance with Maddie. You were the kids that I selected from all of those kids. That's a big deal. A really big deal. Let's go.
Well, Dance Moms premiered on Lifetime in 2011 at the peak of reality TV's obsession with competitive kids. Side note, if you are familiar with the show, doesn't this seem like a TLC show? If you had asked me on the spot before I started research for this video, sorry, I just kicked my camera. If you had asked me on the spot, I would have said this sounds like something TLC would do. Anyways, the show followed Abby Lee Miller, a tough, often cruel dance teacher, and the moms and young dancers at her Pittsburgh studio, the Abby Lee Dance Company. Each week, the girls would compete in regional competitions, while the cameras captured every tear, every tantrum, and every argument between the moms, between the kids, and even between Abby herself. The show ran for 8 seasons, launched several child stars, and became a cultural phenomenon with viral moments, memes, and also lots of controversy. It's also become the cautionary tale about what happens when kids become reality TV fodder. And that brings me to the heart of today's video. Dance Moms wasn't just a guilty pleasure, it was and still is a case study in how the entertainment industry exploits minors for profit. So let's talk about the kids, because here's the thing: the emotional breakdowns, the public shaming, the physical exhaustion, those weren't bugs of the show, they were features. The producers wanted conflict, they wanted tears, and they had no qualms about getting it from children. Abby's teaching methods were extreme: yelling, belittling, isolating. One of the show's signature moments was something called the pyramid, and it was a weekly ranking. It was a weekly ranking of the dancers. And keep in mind, when I say dancers, I mean young children. So it was a weekly ranking of the dancers where Abby would literally stack photos of the girls from top to bottom in front of the group, announcing who was her favorite each week. Okay.
We have JoJo. You were fifth in the competition. You're fifth on the pyramid. Sometimes you act like a 5-year-old. Maybe 5 is your lucky number or not so lucky number.
The rankings changed constantly, and favoritism was used to pit the girls against each other and sometimes even against their own parents. And it wasn't just emotional abuse, the physical demands were brutal.
I thought she broke a bone.
Oh, it must really hurt.
He just fell.
She has a buckle fracture.
So tape the toe together.
And down she goes.
I don't think Brooke's gonna do her solo.
Everyone's replaceable.
These
This
kids danced for hours on end, sometimes with injuries, with little regard for their long term health because the cameras had to roll. Many of them were as young as 6 or 7 years old. And as someone who has a child who is 6, about to become 7, I just can't even fathom subjecting them to a life of this kind of stress. But, anyways, so they're subjected to stress and performance pressure, which is more appropriate for an adult or a professional athlete. And when they break down in tears, well, that just makes for better TV, doesn't it? And here's where it gets even murkier. Reality TV has long operated in this legal gray space when it comes to child labor laws. In California at the time, the strongest protections applied to scripted shows. So think Disney Channel, where child actors had union contracts, on-set teachers, and restricted hours. But unscripted reality shows like Dance Moms often slip through those loopholes. There's no guaranteed teachers, there's no strict limits on filming days, and there's no clear protection on kids' earnings or long-term welfare. And now we know at what cost. In later interviews, several of the original dancers, including Maddie Ziegler and Chloe, whose last name I do not know how to pronounce, Lukasiak, have spoken out openly about the emotional damage that they experienced. Chloe has even described suffering PTSD from her time on the show, and Maddie has talked about constant anxiety and perfectionism rooted in those years. And we all watched it happen in real time for our entertainment. As a parent now, I can't imagine watching my child sob in front of a national audience and letting it continue week after week because it made good TV. But that's exactly what happened. And as an audience, we ate it up. The tears, the breakdowns, the bruises, they became gifs and memes and punchlines. It's honestly pretty uncomfortable to look back and realize how much of this show's success came from watching children be pushed past their limits. And that begs the question, why did the parents allow this? Why would any mom subject her child to this type of environment? Well, that's where the psychology of a stage mom comes in. So, a quick disclaimer. As I mentioned, I cannot imagine putting myself and my children through this. I am far too confrontational and overprotective of my children. I don't allow them to remain in any toxic environment if it's within my power to remove them. But here's the other thing. I am also a firm believer that any person is capable of any decision given the right circumstances and conditioning. So I am not here to mom shame, but the show is called Dance Moms. The show is actually about the mothers. Well, it's supposed to be about the mothers. It's Dance Moms. So I think that means we get to be as critical as we want about the actions and decisions that are on display here. So my goal is to simply examine the motives and the mindsets involved.
Who you are.
I don't feel right doing it.
Okay, I tried. I think you're gonna regret something. I think your friend is really gonna be disappointed.
Okay, fine, I'll do it. Tell me what to say. Just say I'm really upset. This really meant a lot to me. And just say thank you so much for your time.
Crying, and I heard Ellie say to you, Mom, just tell me exactly what to say. She said, Mom, just tell me exactly what to say. That is
I'm so sorry for your patience.
I'm not really worried about your assessment of me. And I don't deal with dissociative identity disorder in my practice.
Oh, you just got diagnosed.
You're just a bitch.
At least I'm only one bitch. You're like 3 bitches, all your different personalities. With all your personalities, I gotta call you like bitch 1, 2, 3.
Shut you out because they're moms. What? They know how to accept you.
Mom?
They're bullying you.
Mom.
You know she has feelings.
Mom, stop.
She has feelings. She has
Stop.
feelings.
They're not bullying me.
She has feelings.
They're not doing anything wrong.
Really?
Please ignore her.
I don't know.
She wasn't bullying.
Wasn't bullying.
What is she?
They're excluding you.
They're not. What are they doing? What are they doing?
They're always excluding you.
They're not.
They're always excluding you. And you should know how to fix it.
I'll sit in her chair. I don't care.
Right to jail, right away.
So, stage moms aren't new, but dance moms revealed something deeper about the psychology behind extreme stage parenting. For many of these women, it wasn't just about their daughter's dance career, it was about their own identity, their validation, their self worth, their need to matter. Think about it. Many of these moms had given up careers, ambitions, friendships, sometimes entire identities to focus on motherhood. And that's just kind of comes with it, learning how to navigate those types of changes. But the dance world, with its hierarchy and its competitions and its social capital, this became their primary arena for achievement. Success for their child became synonymous with their own value. If their daughter won, they won. If their daughter was favored by Abby, they felt seen. Honestly, I mean, when you watch it again, it seems like many of them wanted Abby's approval more than their kids did. If their daughter lost, it wasn't just disappointing, it was a blow to their personal identity. Imagine tying your entire sense of worth to whether a 9-year-old sticks her triple pirouette. No pressure, sweetie. No pressure. And another little side note, because right now we're talking about dance moms, but don't get me started on sport culture. Because sure, there may not be as many cameras, but the way some of these coaches be talking to these little athletes is disgusting. Like, it's not just the women. My husband has many horror stories of terrible coaches and the trauma that he still deals with today from those coaches. So just keep that in mind. We're talking about dance moms here, but don't forget the misogyny of it all. So, anyways, when you add in the cameras, the stakes multiply. Now, there's not just dance moms watching, but the whole country is watching. Their every action, outfit, comment could be judged by millions. The pressure to prove themselves as parents and as people became enormous, I would imagine. How could it not? Combine that with the producers whispering in their ears and encouraging drama and dangling future opportunities, and you get moms acting out in ways they likely never would have imagined before.
Anya in her place.
No, I never said that.
Yes, you most certainly
No,
did.
I didn't, dingbat. Listen, I said, Brooke, is your mother
Get
speaking
your
for you?
finger
Do you
out
want to
of
be
my face. Girls, out the room.
Yeah, you
Girls,
wouldn't
out the
even
room.
get
Get off of me. Out the room.
Get away from me.
Out the room. Girls, out of the room.
Who do you think you are?
Turn around. Turn around.
You are
All
nuts.
of you.
No,
Out
you're
of the room. Now. Out of the room. Maddie, you too. All of you out of the room.
The competition between them, subtle and not so subtle. You could teach lessons on Warcraft from this. But the sabotage, the desperate need for their children to be the favorite, these behaviors weren't just about dance. They were about survival in a social game that they didn't fully control. And let's be real. If any of us were trapped in a studio 12 hours a day, being side-eyed by Jill and bribed by producers, we might have started throwing drinks too. I would have. There's also the element of trauma cycles at play here. Many of these women grew up in environments that rewarded perfectionism, people pleasing, and external achievement. And now those patterns were being passed down consciously or not to their daughters. They weren't just chasing trophies, they were chasing healing for old wounds they may not have even recognized. Nothing like generational trauma served with a side of rhinestones. Do you know what I'm saying? And again, there's no shame in that. We all have trauma. This is what their trauma kind of seems to have looked like. We all have to deconstruct it.
Lucy is so full of herself. She needs to just shut up and be grateful for what Abby does for her and her child.
Sorry, I'm a real dance mom, and I will stand here.
Why are you yelling at us?
I'm not. I'm talking to my friend.
Then you're yelling at
Shush.
her. You had too much to drink.
Oh,
You better
whatever.
settle it down. Bitch.
Aubrey a day.
I think Holly needs to keep Abby in her pocket and not cut her off because Abby has a lot of connections. I mean, Holly's a dance mom. What's she gonna do for Nia?
And of course, human psychology loves conformity. In a group where everyone is tolerating and even encouraging toxic behavior, it becomes easier to rationalize your own. This is a classic social contagion. What once felt extreme can start to feel normal when it's modeled around you consistently. And I say that again, I'm not here to mom shame. I say that as someone who spent several years in a religious cult. So Again, anyone can end up in any situation or circumstance or consequence given the right conditioning and circumstances. So, but anyways, back to the moms. Heaven forbid you're the mom who says, hey, maybe public humiliation isn't good for my 8-year-old. And then you might just get edited out of the show. Just ask Kelly, who was allegedly banned after confronting Abby, or ask Kira, who pulled Kalani mid-season 4 over a contract and injury and was allegedly later portrayed as the problem. And honestly, that mini team experiment, so there were a couple seasons there where they did like little mini teams. Almost all of the new moms allegedly got phased out once they tried to set boundaries. And psychologically, it's heartbreaking that many of these women were chasing a second chance at relevance, at personal success after sacrificing so much for their own families. The harsh truth is exploitation thrives on unmet needs, and Dance Moms was built on a dynamic both for the kids and the mothers. They were built on that dynamic. It wasn't just the moms or Abby or even the producers, though the producers on shows like this can get their own video because heinous crimes, straight to jail. But anyways, we can't just blame the moms, Abby, and even the producers for creating this cycle. The reason why Dance Moms was such a massive hit was us, the audience. Which brings us to one more uncomfortable angle. What our obsession with shows like this says about us. Why did we watch? Here's the hard truth. Dance Moms was popular because it was addictive. The formula worked. Tiny dancers, big drama, public competition, and enough chaos to make us feel better about our own lives. Reality TV gold. Chef's kiss.
And you know what? You know who creates the vultures? It's you. Because you try to turn all of these kids against their friend, and that little girl is mortified all the time, but you don't care. How about being a role model? I have heard you say to her, to that little 9-year-old girl, no one would be happy for you. Everyone's jealous of you. Why do you say that? No, we're not. No, we're not. You have sabotaged my daughter and the rest of the kids.
A little snake.
How dare you call my daughter a sneak?
Snake.
She's not a sneak. You're a sneak and a snake.
In 5 years, she might not be talented anymore. Look at Brooke.
Against her friends.
I say my daughter isn't talented anymore.
And that's not what I just said.
Just said in 5 years she might not be talented anymore.
She is very
She could be
talented.
hurt. She may never
Everybody's
dance again.
talented. Everyone in this room is talented, and if you really...
You're not.
But why was it addictive? Because it taps into something very human, our love of comparison, our morbid curiosity, and let's be honest, our tendency to enjoy a little bit of other people's mess, especially when that mess involves women and children being pitted against each other on camera. And this isn't new. Culturally, we love watching women forced into rivalry. Just look at how many hit reality shows use this exact formula. The Bachelor, America's Next Top Model, Real Housewives. The setup is so simple. Create artificial scarcity. There's only one winner, or there's only one favorite, or there's only one man. Then stir the pot and edit it so that every moment looks like a cat fight waiting to happen. It taps into these sexist tropes. The idea that women are just naturally jealous, catty, and overly emotional. And as viewers, we've been conditioned to enjoy that dynamic. Not because women are naturally this way, but because so many of these shows are designed to make them look that way. Drama sells. Meltdowns go viral. Healthy relationships, not so much.
Not only do I deserve better, that little girl deserves better. She's a vicious and nasty, foul woman. None of those other mothers said a single word. They let that woman tear my kid apart last week and did the same thing today. That woman is insane. She's crazy.
But here's where Dance Moms took that formula to a whole different and frankly darker level. The kids became the collateral damage. On shows like Top Model or Real Housewives, the adult women know what they're signing up for. They may be misled or edited, but they're adults choosing to compete on camera. On Dance Moms, the moms were forced into rivalry, but their daughters were forced right there with them. The pyramid rankings, the favoritism, the isolation, all of it filtered down to the kids, shaping their friendships, their self worth, and their mental health. So, yes, part of why Dance Moms was so popular is the same reason why any show about women in rivalry is popular. But what made it especially uncomfortable was the fact that little girls and little boys were at the center of that dynamic, and that we, as an audience, tuned in week after week to watch it happen. And let me be clear, this is not a shame thing. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I watched it too, but it's worth asking ourselves why we loved it so much and what that says about the media that we consume today. So, what do we take away from all of this? Well, Dance Moms was entertaining, no question. It launched careers, it created iconic moments, but it was also built on the exploitation of children, the emotional fragility of parents, and the dark impulses of us, the viewing public. As a mom now, and as someone who advocates for healthier approaches to life and to wellness, this show hits very different today. There's nothing wrong with ambition. I love ambition. I actually can't stand when people don't have ambition. So there's nothing wrong with ambition. But when the pursuit of success comes at the cost of a child's well being, it's time to reevaluate what we're willing to watch and reward. I think we as consumers often forget how powerful we are. And sometimes, if we can just push back against those darker tendencies and impulses to enjoy watching like other people's like downfall and discomfort, and we really look at it as like, no, but the kids, this is toxic. Like we can choose not to watch, and that actually is very powerful. Um, and they'll feel that. The industry will feel that. So, anyways, let me know. Tell me, could Dance Moms, this is a genuine question. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you believe that Dance Moms could be made today? Should it have been made at all? And would you want to see a follow-up video where I deep dive into what's happened to JoJo, Siwa, and some of the other kids after the cameras stopped rolling? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It truly, truly helps. And also don't forget that if you are caught up in the hustle and bustle of life and you could use a bit more intention, a bit more slowing down, then I have a newsletter. It's called You Needed This, and it is all about creating routines of rest and purpose. It's all about living within your values and things like that. It's a little dose of encouragement sent straight to your inbox every single week, a little reset, a little pause, a little self care. And so, if that sounds interesting to you, it's completely free to join. You just have to sign up at the link below in my description. That is all that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.